Hello, everybody. My name is Aiden Corcoran, if you don't know me already. In this video, I want to go ahead and talk to you guys about the past 2 years of my life that have been incredibly transformational. My life literally took a 180, and I haven't really talked too much about the process. It was anywhere from leaving a 9 to 5 job, or not leaving a 9 to 5 job, but closing down my business, Warpath Fitness, leaving the perfect relationship, leaving my house, basically packing my car and just taking off cross country, and then eventually getting rid of everything else that I had for one bag and got a one way ticket to the other side of the world to do some deep soul searching work. I don't even know where to start with this video. there, this is a crazy story, and I feel like a lot of people have wanted closure or disclosure, awareness. They just want to know, what have I been up to? Because I've been saying like some of the things that I've been up to. I just really haven't like talked too much about it, especially in detail. And there was a reason for that. But now I've gone through a lot in the past 2 years where I'm like, I'm ready to share. And I feel like by me going in depth with the experiences that I've had in the past 2 years of my life, I'm hoping that it might inspire some of you guys to start surrendering a little bit, letting go of control, and just live your imagination, live in the unknown, and just watch the magic unfold because the unknown is where the magic happens. So, without me blabbering too much more, we're just going to dive in. So, 2 years ago, this is February now. 2 years ago, man, I had my business Warpath Fitness. I was basically a health and wellness coach, and I was also helping veterans with finding purpose and handling PTSD, depression, anxiety, and helping them find their mission and their purpose. Because as a Marine, I know how difficult it is from one day being in charge of millions and millions of dollars worth of gear and equipment, being in charge of whole like 12, 20, 40 dudes, and just really have a big mission. And next thing you know, you're like, I'm kicked out of the wayside. So that was one thing I really enjoyed doing, was that business. But March of 2 years ago, I guess 2023 now, it's already 2025. I had my clients, I had my business, things were going pretty well up until that point. But then it was March and something weird happened. I just started losing every single one of my clients by the end of March. I had no more clients, and I was like, I know I need to like work really hard. Like I need to do something to keep this business afloat so I can, pay the bills. And I was living in a nice place at the time, so I was like, I've got a lot of things that I need to pay for, really, like upkeep in my life. Like finances are kind of important. But no matter how hard I tried, one client just left after the other, and it's not like they were being an asshole or anything. Well, most of them. uh, yeah, they're not being assholes. They're just they're moving on in life, and I'm like, this is great because I'd be a failure as a coach if you got to stay with me forever. So I decided to close down the business, stop putting so much energy, and it was really power versus force, like that dynamic. I was trying to force a square peg through a round hole, and I realized there's just too much force. Like I was trying too hard. Like there's got to be an easier way. So I was like, okay, if God, spirit, the universe is trying to tell me to go a different way, I'm going to go a different way. And along this journey of mine in the past 5 years, really, I've had key words, illuminated words that have come into my reality that really stuck with me. The first word that came through in 2021 was surrender. And then 2 years ago, the word was trust. Two words, the bane to my existence. And I'm like, all right, you want me to trust? I'm just gonna like get rid of my business, and I got to do something. I have no money coming in. I'm in a relationship. I've got my house and I've got my car and all these bills and expenses. I guess I'm just going to surrender and trust. So in April of 2023, I was trying to get a job, couldn't get a job like anywhere. I was putting in job applications, and finally there's this job working at like a wellness retreat. And I got the job. The thing was, I didn't work the job, so I didn't get paid. So a few weeks into that, I was like, hey, I can't do this. Like I kind of need to get paid. So I spent the last bit of money that I had, me and my girlfriend at the time, we did a combo ceremony thinking, this is gonna like purge out some like energy or stored emotions or something. Crazy experience if you've never done combo. I'm not gonna say I recommend it, but it was an experience, let's just say that. So moving on, had the combo experience, and then I was like, I'll get into security. I know some guys in security. One of my good friends, he kind of inspired me to take the security route. So now I spent the last bit of money that I had, and I was like, if I'm meant to do this, let me do it. So I spent, I think it was like 150, $200 to get my security license. I went to the security course for a week, and then a week afterwards, I'm like, why do I not have a job? Like, how am I not like getting any work? And finally, my girlfriend at the time, she introduced me to the CD series. She was like, hey, I think you might like this. It's called Your Wish is Your Command by Kevin Trudeau. Oh man, this this is gonna be a long video. This is gonna be a long video, so I hope you guys are ready. I give you guys some details down in the descriptions for Your Wish is Your Command. Maybe I'll make another video on it. I don't know. Let me know, do you guys want me to make a video on what your wish is? Your wish is your command and how much it's changed my life, because it really has, and I'll kind of talk about it here, but I also want you guys to be able to like join the crew. But up until that point, I was like, man, I was a big conspiracy theorist and like the deep state and living fear mongering, all that stuff. And I was like, there's got to be good guys out there, right? Like duality, polarity. It's a law of the universe. One exists, so the other has to exist. So she gave me this like CD series. It was like 14 hours long, and it was on like this Dropbox file. So every 10 minutes, I had to go to the next one. Every 10 minutes, go to the next one and the next one for like 14 hours. But I listened to it. I was like, this is amazing. It literally like, it was just hit different. It's not like any other manifestation gurus out there. Like this guy literally lived it. He was a 33rd degree Freemason. Then he was invited into the Brotherhood, and then he was basically running the world, like the powers that be. He was kind of, yeah, I guess you could say he was kind of like up there, and then he eventually left, but now he's starting to spill the secrets. So I started applying those secrets. And like just simple things like changing my mindset. Next thing I know, out of nowhere, I get a message from a buddy of mine that has a security company. He's like, hey, can you do this job? And I was like, yeah. So my mindset's going from being in poverty and not having money, and the relationship was a little rocky at the time too. Yeah, in a good and transformational way, we'll call it. So my buddy was like, yeah, man, I got this job for you. Can you work this? And I was like, sure. So I was just so happy to have money coming in. I was like, let's do this thing. And at that time, that week, before I even got paid, I used the excuse that I was fasting. But dude, I was so broke. I couldn't afford groceries or anything. Like I was literally trusting. I was high spirited because I was listening to Your Wish is Your Command. But I had no money. I but I was still, my attitude was what really mattered. So I started working this security gig, and I was really thankful. It was a nice nightclub here in downtown Tampa. I was kind of like the front door guy. So people would like give me tips here and there. Yeah, we're calling them tips. We weren't supposed to take tips, but people got to make a living. 20 bucks an hour is not enough. But working there, like I started listening to Your Wish is Your Command like every single day. It was about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour drive from St. Pete, where I was living, over to downtown Tampa, where I was working. So like 4 or 5 nights a week, I'm just listening to this over and over and over. And any free time I have, I'm just listening to Your Wish is Your Command over and over again. And I start to notice, like I'm so peaceful. doing this security work. I'm not working at a nightclub. There's fights and all sorts of stuff going on. But I maintain this sense of balance, this sense of peace, this sense of presence, and a positive mental attitude. I wasn't the kind of guy like, where are the bad guys at? Where are the fights at? I'm just like sitting there, like doing a little mudra like this, breathing, meditating. And then when fights did happen, I would just go kind of in a hypnotic state, break up the fights, literally just pick the dudes up and get out. I did more jujitsu for all you guys that don't think jujitsu is a big deal. I've done more jujitsu in fights and breaking up fights than I have any other kind of martial art or anything in general. Like I don't use these things. I do like rear naked chokes or you can get a good gable grip around someone's waist and just pick them up and take them out. You'd be surprised how amazing jujitsu is. Like people are like, "Oh, jujitsu, you will use it in a street fight." Bro, I've used it plenty of times, and not just one to one, man. Like straight out brawls. But I just had to throw that in for you, jujitsu guys, and all you haters. Go love yourself. So yeah, I was doing the nightclub. I changed my mindset, and I'm like, I can make money. I can make money. And next thing I know, I in the next like 3 months, I was making sometimes $2,000 in 3 days just from tips and my wages. People would tip me 600 bucks, $100 here and there. And they would walk out of the club and just give me the money. They're like, you're a great guy. And they really inspired me. Like this the magic that I'm learning in Your Wish is Your Command, it's actually working. So the money thing was kind of getting solved. But another really important thing to me was my relationship. And her and I, we were like the perfect relationship. But something inside of both of us was like, energetically, it's not meant to be, or at least be right now. And in the past, like year, about year and a half, we explored like even just living separately or maybe breaking up, but nothing really. And there was nothing wrong with the relationship. We were actually growing. We were very compatible partners for each other, but something energetically for both of us, we felt like we were being held back, like we had to do this. And we never got an answer why we had to separate. We were just like, we've got to do it. So, August of 2023, one of my good friends, he was like, bro, go to this security school. You can get any job you want afterwards. It's basically like the Yale and Harvard of security. You're going to learn so much important stuff in the security world. I was like, this is perfect because my girlfriend at the time, we're separating, and this is just a great way for me to kind of like cut all ties. So it was August of 2023, and life was good financially. I was making money. I was helping her pay some of her bills. My car was kind of shitting the bed, and I would have to pay for more parts, but I had the money to pay for those parts that I didn't have before. So I was just trusting, still listening to Your Wish is Your Command religiously, like all day, every day, taking notes. And I think at this point, I was actually a part of the Global Information Network. I think I signed up for the associate program, which isn't around anymore, but you can sign up for level one. Message me down below if you want to be a member of the Global Information Network, and I've got something for you. And we even have a free cruise that you can go on in January. That's going to be dope. I'm super excited for that. But this, I'm not a salesman. I'm not trying to like sell anything to you guys. I just really want to see other people join the Global Information Network because it's changed my life so much. But getting back to the story, her and I were trying to separate. We're trying to slowly separate. So at the end of July, we officially decided to separate, but I'm not leaving for another month for the security gig. So we're sleeping in separate rooms. We're just spending a little less time together. We're not ripping the Band-Aid off, which later we found out we probably should have ripped the Band-Aid off. But the month goes by, month is great, and then I'm like, I'm trying to get some more money. So the week before I left for Colorado for this security school, a hurricane comes to Florida. And if you're in security and a hurricane comes and you're in Florida, it's a money making opportunity. So my last few days here in Florida, I was able to make even more money. I'm like, this is great. But then more things happened with my car and I had to pay for all these other things. So then I had like almost nothing. Then now I had to start borrowing money from people, but my attitude was in the right place. So I knew where God guides, He provides, where He leads, He protects. And I fully trusted, I fully surrendered, regardless of my lack of income because I was leaving security. I had like $1,000, no income coming in. Um, and I was like, how am I going to survive? Like, the VA will pay me once I'm there in October, but I still have like a month of like Airbnb, food, transportation, like all these different things. And not to mention, I got to drive from Florida to Colorado. But I just trust. I'm like, if it's meant to be, it'll be, and I will be provided for. So my previous girlfriend and I, we parted ways. We're like, this is it. I love you. Thank you for the time we had together. Learned very valuable lessons. We kind of had like a going away ceremony and then kind of ripped the band-aid off that way. Next thing we know, I'm driving to Colorado. I get there eventually. And no, I stop in Denver to see my sister and her family. And I'm like, dude, I've got no money. So I call one of my good friends and I'm like, hey man, can you help me financially? And he's like, yeah, but I'm not going to give you $700 because you're going to need a lot more where you're going. Let me give you $2,000. So he gives me $2,000 for housing, food, like the money that I needed because I trusted and I opened my mouth and I asked for it and I got even more than what I was even asking for. So I get up to Colorado. I couldn't find a place to stay. So I was actually sitting in the Planet Fitness parking lot. I was like, man, I'm just going to sleep here. I was thinking about getting a tent, just camping the whole 3 months that I was there in the school. But then something told me just go to a hotel and you'll find a place for tomorrow. So the next 3 months for me doing the PSD work, secure, what is it called? Surveillance and counter surveillance operations, executive protection, um, covert security. I was doing all these amazing security like trainings, these schools. I'm like, okay, like I'm definitely not going back to Florida. I've got my car here. Everything's good. So no real connections with my previous girlfriend at the time. But now I'm really starting to work on myself. Still listening to Your Wish is Your Command over and over and over. I'm like writing out these manifestations. I've got my dream book. I'm surrounding myself in positive energy. I'm doing breath work and meditating every single day, eating high quality foods. Even though I didn't have a lot of money, I would go to the grocery store. And I remember one day I was picking food off the shelf and I'm like, would my abundant higher self pick this food from the state that I am? And the answer was no. So I took a deep breath in and I bought the high quality food that was actually going to give me higher vibrational feelings, that was going to fuel me. Next thing I know, I remember at the end of September, I had money coming in random ways. Like one of the students in the PSD class, he was like, hey man, can you come up with a workout program for me? So I got some money there. And then I went to my old business bank account and magic, money was there. And I'm like, this is awesome. Like I'm just surrendering and money's just like flowing my way. Again, listening to Your Wish is Your Command over and over and over. That's all I was listening to and doing the security work. So fast forwarding a little bit, another month, it's the beginning of November, and I get this fat check in the mail, like over $20,000. And I'm like, where did this come from? And just God, the universe was blessing me with so many different things. So what did I do? I signed up for level one of the Global Information Network. And this is when I just started dumping money into the Global Information Network, into their events, into the processes, into the, you might call it an academy, just the group, the schooling, the club. I was investing into the club. And then the school ended in the beginning of November. So I'm like, where do I go now? But I had this tug on my heart that was like, go up to the mountains, and just spend a little bit of time in solitude. You've been around a lot of people, you've been doing a lot of soul searching, you've been doing a lot of work, but you need to ground yourself. So I was like, okay. So I drive out to Aspen. This is like mid November. Yeah. I drive out to Aspen in the mountains. Some snow on the ground. It's cold as shit. And I set up my tent, set up my campground. And the first couple of days I have a good time. I'm like building fires with like a bow and drill, going on hikes, enjoying the scenery, the beautiful scenery. But then I'm like, I need to like meditate and just spend time, clear my channel so that spirit or God can kind of show me like, where am I meant to go? Am I supposed to stay in the security industry? Because originally I went out there not to get into the security industry, but it was a great way for me to, one, build skills, go shooting, have fun, but also kind of rip the band-aid off of my girlfriend and I at the time, and just ripping the band-aid off that situation. So I went out and I was doing some solitude. I was doing some fasting, grounding, and just opening my channel, being present and allowing God to flow. And I remember just sitting there under the stars every night. And I got this tug on my heart. Aiden, go back to Tampa. And I'm like, I just came from Tampa. I've got a security convention in like 2 weeks where I can work anywhere in the world. And you're telling me to go back to Tampa? But we'll see. This is where I started like tapping into like actually knowing if it's God or if it's ego talking to me. But I also heard Make Men Men Again, the Conscious Warrior Project. And I know a lot of you guys on social media that follow me and watch me, I said I was going to announce something. This is the origins, or mid-origins, like halfway. This isn't the actual origin, but this is when I know that I am empowered and fully convicted that this is my mission and my purpose in this life. But I just heard the Conscious Warrior Project, and I've been throwing the name around for years, like about 3 years. Conscious Warrior Project, Making Men Men Again, like talking about manly stuff, but never really doing anything with it. I knew about, but I didn't know it because I wasn't applying it. So the universe gave me an opportunity. Go back to Tampa and start working on Making Men Men Again. Specifically told me to start up my podcast again. And I received these channels of these messages of what podcast episodes to release. So fast forwarding, I got my mission, my purpose. I'm like, okay, I'm just taking it one step at a time. I do this. I go back to Tampa. I do my podcast. I let people know about the CWP, the Conscious Warrior Project. Next thing I know, I just move on to the next thing. So I'm like, okay, I'm going back to Florida. I know what I'm doing, but I've got a couple weeks. So I spend time with family for Thanksgiving. Then the next week, I go to Texas and I go to the security convention. I'm low key like trying to get a job so I don't have to go back. Kind of like Noah and Nineveh, kind of like running from it, running from the mission that God has for me. And as I was there, I had so many opportunities. I had multiple opportunities in Hawaii to work for like very, very high level clients. And I had the best sources. Like I could have worked anywhere I wanted and like got in. But something was telling me go back to Tampa. So I was like, okay, I'll go back to Tampa. So I ended up going back to Tampa and I had nowhere to stay. But I had my room at my house that I was still paying rent at. And my ex was there too. Again, good terms, perfect relationship. It just energetically was in alignment. So I went back, we had our boundaries. I'm like, hey, I'm just here for this. I stayed on my mission, she stayed on her mission. Over time, we were like Maybe we could make it work. I'm a different man, you're a different woman. We tried it out for a few weeks, but there was still that energetic tug that was like, what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? There's something bigger for both of you out there. So we were like, this is seriously like the universe saying, you got to get out of here. You've got to go do more. But it was really amazing the time that I was in Florida because I got to connect to some really amazing men. Ooh, I don't know if you guys are ready for this. Okay, I'll tell you. So I went to a men's retreat last January, and I did a breathwork session, and it was just so profound. Like I went into the void of like complete and utter darkness. That's where everything's created. But then I just saw these like golden energy particles just flowing in front of my face perfectly in like this beautiful formation. And I reach out my hand and I just feel this energy coming up on me and grabbing me like a soft, warm blanket, just like holding me, saying, I've got you. And as I was in that experience, okay, I'll say it. As I was in that experience, something came over me to start an X-Men Academy, helping men be men again, but also bridging the physical with the spiritual. Unprogram our mindset, the programs of the matrix, let go of all of our past traumas because those are creating the lens that we view the world. Now we get to throw in the spiritual stuff. And this is fun because this is when you get to remember who you truly are. And I'll go more into detail on this X-Men Academy on the next video when we get into the Asia portion of the last 2 years. Really, the last 8 months of my life is the Asia. Before that, it was like a year and a half. But I had this like vision. I'm like, oh, like I'm really like to help make men men again. So I'm doing my podcast, exploring with the relationship again. Then something just comes up. Like I did the podcast, everything was good. I'm like, why don't I just travel now? The relationship, I think it was official for both of us. We're like, we're both done. Like, we would love this, but we're not following our flesh. We're here to follow God, to follow spirit, and truly surrender to our higher calling. So we gave our final goodbyes. We're like, this is it. I had a couple more weeks there. I had once again another security gig up in Virginia. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna take this. This is a way to like officially rip the band-aid off. I found someone to live in my room, got all my stuff out of the house, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go up to Virginia, go to a global information network event in April, and then I'm just gonna take off to Asia and see where the world takes me. So at this point, trying to remember if there's anything. I totally forgot I wrote down notes. It's somewhere around here. I wrote down these notes. Let me see. Warpath separated from the perfect relation. Yeah, no, I'm doing a good job. I've got my notes right here and I stayed on track. So yeah, I left to do this security gig again, making really great money. Then afterwards, I was like, I don't know if security is for me. Like, I don't know. Never say never. I've learned that. I've experienced that many times, but I'm now just finally learning to never say never because you never know. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know what's off your radar screen. So I took off to Virginia. I did a month-long security gig. It sucked, messed up my body. But I was like, man, I'm going to a gym event called Dream Weekend. That was last April of 2024. That event changed my life. Like, I realized how tapped in, how connected to the universe that I was, and my psychic abilities and my abilities to feel energy and see past the veil. A lot of this stuff, it's probably not making sense for you guys, but for me, I realized that I wasn't crazy. I didn't know about things. What I knew, and I was able to confirm with people at this event because a lot of these people are very connected, very tapped in, and the program is basically very esoteric. It's like a mystery school, kind of like the Freemasons or Skull and Bones. There's no conspiracy theories or anything like that. Hate, like this is straight up like love, success, make everyone healthy, give them what they want, and also find your mission and your purpose. It really is like the Jedi Council, the Jedi Order. Like the Global Information Network is literally Jedi training. So I experienced it, and I'm like, this, like I thought my body was going to explode, but I knew I was like, dude, I got to go to Asia now. Like with this energy, I've got to go see what's out there. Like I don't know, like I've got to separate myself even more. So at the end of April, I decided to drive to Oklahoma, and that's when I was like, I'm going to Asia, and that's it. Period. I don't know why I did have an intention. I'll get into it, but I bought my plane ticket, a one-way ticket, and I was like, here I go. I personally thought I was going because I was gonna be like, man, watch my surrender experience and like watch me vlog, watch me go on these adventures. Like, I want to inspire all of you guys to step into the unknown to see what the magic is really out there whenever you do step into the unknown. But I shortly later, into about a month into my travels, I realized I was actually self-sabotage. It's holding me back from my mission. And I'll create another video because this video is 30 minutes long. I'll create another video about my true surrender experience whenever I went to Asia. And that's when, guys, I didn't talk a lot about it. I know I was recording a lot of videos, posting it, and then one day I just stopped. There's a reason for everything that I do. There's a reason I haven't talked about anything yet because the time wasn't right and I wasn't ready to fully communicate that with you guys. But now I'm ready to like fully share in detail what happened to me while I was in Asia and how that's going to change my life, your life, those around you, and the world. And I'm really excited to share this mission because we always hear that, like, a lot of people, they think they know their purpose, but they know, well, some people just think they know their purpose. They're like, yeah, I'm a fitness coach. And for some of you guys, great, that's amazing. But I see depth. I see behind a lot of like the traumas, and what you see, I see beyond that. And I see a much deeper spiritual meaning, a much deeper spiritual purpose as to why we are here on earth during this time of existence. Nothing's random. And I set out on this journey, sold my car, let go of all the other shit of mine, packed a bag, and I took off to Asia with no idea what I was doing, where I was going, for how long. Just, I'm going out there, I'm going to go on some adventures. I'm going to see what kind of adventures the universe takes me on. I've got that video coming up next. But I really hope this video kind of inspired you guys to see how I've surrendered in my life, especially in the past 2 years, letting go of everything, like literally a perfect relationship, an amazing life, a little doggo that I love so much, my friends, like family, like all these different things, opportunities. I surrendered everything. I surrendered everything. I didn't know exactly why, but I had this inner feeling, call it your gut or intuition, but I had this inner feeling that there was something so much bigger out there than I was allowing myself to access. And when I was in Asia, I found that mission that expands for centuries and centuries. And it's going to have ripples effects across the face of humanity. And I really hope that you guys are a part of it. My mission is to bring you guys along the journey, guide you to remember who you are, help you and guide you to be the leader that you're meant to be so you can live your happiest, healthiest, purpose-driven life. I feel like I can keep going on with these kind of like talks. For right now, I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to create another video on my Asia experience and how I truly found my purpose. I thought I knew my purpose. Little did I know I knew about my purpose. Now I know because energetically I am convicted. I have conviction behind my thoughts, my words, my actions. And there is nothing that can stop me from fulfilling my soul's mission. I took an ultimatum. I almost died from it. But I'll tell you that story in the next video. Love you guys so much. Thank you for watching. I would appreciate so much if you would share this video with someone else, someone that might get something out of the surrender. Maybe someone that's looking for peace. Maybe someone that's tired of the monotonous, mundane routine of life. Maybe they're looking for their purpose. Just share it with them. Comment down below if you guys relate with anything that I've been through, whether it's the relationship, the finances, going job to job. Like, I can talk about the other parts of my life, but that's going to be too damn long to talk about. But I really do hope this video inspired you guys in some way, shape, or form. I love you guys. Talk soon. Peace and love.